Hello and welcome to my channel, The Unknown Past. In today's video, we'll be discussing the history and the origin of war paint. Just by guessing from the name war paint, you can point out and tell it's related to warfare and combat in general. Which is correct, it was used in centuries upon centuries of conflict, from ancient periods to modern day times. Especially used in the military, and also is shown in action movies, for example The Terminator, where Arnold Schwarzenegger applies 3 black stripes of paint as a sign of action and making himself aware of his surroundings. Also makes him look like a fearless warrior. It's been used in multiple forms, from face paint to body paint. No one knows the date, time or even the place of the origin of the substance, but it's believed that the Native Americans created this substance due to strong evidence gathered by historians and philosophers around the world. As they discovered red Indians, which is another term for Native Americans, achieved cave art, which is a practice within their culture to paint, draw on boulders or cave walls. They mostly did portraits of themselves, such as their tribes, and their achievements, like hunting and wars. Many of you will recognize this practice, as it's a similar concept to the Stone Age period of cavemen, as they cave drawings, as they used a special dye to draw themselves hunting antelope with various use of weapons such as bows and arrows, but this was another kind of practice. We will look into this study in another video. So, if you look into the deeper understanding of war paint, it wasn't originally for conflict, but hunting, as it was a kind of camouflage substance to protect themselves from predators. But on the other hand, it was used to intimidate their enemies by applying to specific colours ranging from black, white and red. Each colour holds a significant meaning, but it was lost due to time. They even used ranges of patterns during rituals, dancing and more. Now let's talk about highly classed men and women would place markings on warriors, and it was thought that most powerful spirits of legendary warriors before them would guide them to victory. Native Americans believed in many things. If you have watched my video about the extraordinary creatures in religions and cultures linked below, I mentioned a mythological creature named the Wendigo. In certain tribes, they used face paint to show off their ranks within the tribe. They also used it to transform into an animal or into a guide to take on their powers. For example, you would wear face paint that make you look like a jaguar, and it would give you the ability and the strength of that chosen animal. And in some cases, you would impersonate them, mostly for rituals. I completely understand this sounds strange and crazy, but at those times they had many beliefs, and we should respect it, even if it sounds outrageous. Moving on, the American tribes have used paint for their appearance in North America in about 10,000 BCE, both to psychologically prepare them for hunting, as well as for the visual purposes, but was soon adopted as a war paint due to many civil wars. But nonetheless, they made the colours of the face paint from various things. For example, white was used from eggshells, she cells and limestone. Black was created by coal mixed with animal fat. Yellow was made from flowers, berries or moths, and the yellow substance was found in some internal organs of the buffalo that was used to produce the yellow paint. Blue paint was obtained from oxides, powdered azurite and lapis, sunflower seeds and etc. Green paint was of course made from algae. Pink was used from the juice of Virginia creeper, a wooden vine made of to eastern in central North America. Purple paint was of course berries and cornflower and hibiscus. Last but not least, red of course was made from red clay containing oxides of iron roots, berries, barks and beets, but many did use their own blood or animal blood, as red paint signifies blood. The green paint signifies better vision. The yellow paint is a colour of death, and it means a man has lived his life and will fight to the finish. Also white signifies the purity, righteousness, integrity, honesty, morality and virtue. Black signifies despair, evil and darkness and wicked. Symbols have a massive role, which can have various meanings. For example, circles can symbolize the spirit, is in its original form. It can represent the sun, it can represent the emotional energy and responsibility. For example, the appearance of a palm imprint on the face usually indicates that the warrior was skilled in hand-to-hand combat or was an excellent invisibility scout. This element served as a guide for reliable protection for women of their own or affiliated tribes. Furthermore, in many tribes, vertical red stripes on the cheek and above indicated the number of enemies killed. Same principle in other tribes, but instead of red vertical stripes, it's black horizontal stripes on the cheeks. Moreover, the number of combat mounts was indicated by vertically marks on the neck. Before battle, some tribes painted their face black in whole or in part, and some did after the battle if they won. Another interesting fact, the area around the eyes was frequently circled or painted over. This usually meant that the adversary would be unable to hide and the warrior would attack him and defeat him using spirits or magic. Now that's enough of the Native American talk. Throughout history, we have records of travelers using plant dye and other substances to alter their faces and body language before heading to battle. Vikings are Scandinavians who lived through the 8th and 11th century. In many depictions of Vikings in popular culture, they are shown as militant strong warriors with fascinating body art and face art. But is this true? Did Vikings really paint their faces? It is difficult to say if modern depictions of Vikings with painted faces are historically accurate because there are no pictures from the Viking period. But many historical discussions about the appearances of Vikings refer to the writings of Ibrahim ibn Yaqub. I'm so sorry for my punctuation. So, he visited the Viking town of Hedeby around the year 1965 AD. Yaqub mentioned in his writings that Viking men and women used some kind of indelible cosmetic, to which he stated to enhance the beauty of their eyes. Some interpretations of the text show that Ibrahim mentioned that the Danish Vikings at Hedeby, a town on the southern tip of the Giant Peninsula in northern Europe, lined their eyes with kohl, which is a black powder, usually lead sulfide, used as eye makeup, but he didn't mention any other type of cosmetic. Yaqub also notes that suggests that there was a conventional for Vikings to add a foreign substance to their face to change or enhance their appearance. But also remember that Vikings believed in Norse paganism / mythology, which they believed in a haven called Valhalla, where Odin's throne lays. I will make a separate video talking about Norse mythology and etc. Nonetheless, were they using kohl or a substance called henbane around the eyes? Is this a reliable description of the Viking age makeup? Maybe. We don't know. This isn't a original text and we don't have any primary sources of it. This is not a primary source, however, people claim it is. In fact, it's a secondary source. We only have a fragment of the source due to aging, as well as it was a long time ago and some were lost at sea from travelling. So this comes to my opinion. I believe the Islamic merchants imported the cosmetic to the Vikings. Bear in mind, the Muslim men and women have been using this substance, kohl, for many years, as it's a sunnah, which is an Arabic term for the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, way of life, and it was recommended because it was a protection from the UV light from the sun, and it protects the eyes from the sand, as they originally came from sandy places. So therefore, this leads to the Vikings adapting a new change within the society. But this is a hypothesis. So please don't add this to account and instead look into your own research about this. So did the Vikings use war paint? My guts say yes, but the evidence say perhaps. As I mentioned, we don't have the original text. So if somewhere how we found one of the great loss of works of the Islamic literature, which could fill the massive void of mystery. The earliest fragments we have of Yaqub's work is from 1068, a man called al-Bakri, in which he is another Arab writer who is a historian, philosopher and geographer. One of his famous works are the city of Ghana, and he writes about the west coast of Africa and the expansion of Islam into the south, into more of Africa. But nonetheless, this is a copy of Yaqub's work, and it doesn't add up all the evidence from the original one. As for Vikings, it's still unclear if they used war paint. It was a symbolic use of protection against magic or diseases, or to be fearless, or to be a warrior in battle, which is a similar concept of the game called Assassin's Creed VALHALLA. Just to note, that game is completely historically inaccurate. Furthermore, Julius Caesar claimed that this was a common practice of the British tribes, as they dyed their bodies with a mustard-like herb, making them more terrifying in battle. So there you have it, the history and origin of war paint. If I have missed anything out, please leave a comment below. If you want to discuss anything, my Instagram is in the description. And I am your host, The Unknown Past. I shall see you later.